Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh. I do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Yasharallah. Call Haloyim Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harakah Kwadash, for blessing our elders with the spirit of truth so that we may know. Shout out to the Akim and the Akwaf that's keeping the faith in the work. Y'all keep at it. It's your brother Abaya coming at you with more precepts. It's the book of Acts, chapter 2, and verse 20. It says, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before that great and notable day of Yahweh come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of Yahweh shall be saved. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Yahweh Shai of Nazareth, a man approved of power among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which power did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know. All right. The topic of today's video is salvation. Salvation on all fronts, whether it's heathens or whether you Yasharallah. It's written in the scripts what form of salvation will be. Right? Like we just read in the book of Acts, chapter 2, the salvation from the day of the Lord, that's to Israel and Israel only. Right? That's why he said, ye men of Israel, hear these words. Right? But who are we saved? Who are we going to be saved from? It's not necessarily simply attached to being saved from the day of wrath, but it's also attached to the surrounding nations. Now, let me show you what I mean. Let me go to the book of Luke. So Luke chapter 1. And Luke chapter 1 and verse 68. It says, blessed be Yahweh, power of Yasharallah, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. Right? The Most High has redeemed his people. Right? From who though? Verse 71. It says that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. Right? All right. So Luke 168, blessed be Yahweh, power of Yasharallah, for he has visited and redeemed his people. Luke 1 and 71, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. All right. 74, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life. Right? So that salvation is not only being saved from the wrath of Yahweh, but it's also being saved out of the hands of our enemies. Meaning this hell that we've been experiencing since we've been separated, from our homeland, and righteously since we've been separated from our power, we'll never have to experience it again. Right? This salvation will last forever and ever, even forever. Right? That's spoken of in the book of Daniel, chapter 7. Right? So this salvation, as far as being saved from our enemies, that's all of Israel. Right? But as far as being saved from the day of the Lord, that's only to a specific Israel. Right? The remnant. And let me show you what I'm talking about with that. So it's the book of Galatians, chapter 6. And verse 16, it says, and as many and walk according to this rule, peace be on them, and mercy, and upon the Israel of God. So it's a remnant of the Most High's people that the Most High chose before the world even began to be His. No matter what, we'll always be the Israel of God. And Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Ratazar, I'm in that number. If you're watching this, you are too, right? But as far as the others go, the individuals who don't listen, even when we were coming out of Egypt, they were, you know what I'm saying, the individuals that were complaining about leaving slavery, leaving hard bondage, and wanted to go back to hard bondage because they couldn't see the bigger picture, right? Let me see. We still got those people today, man, right? Because scriptures say we never really die. We regenerate. So when we leave here, our bodies go into the earth and our spirit go back up to the Father. We get judged. We come back down to this earth and live out their judgment, right? So the same way you had individuals that didn't want to hear the scriptures then and didn't want to understand and didn't want to do what was right then, it's the same way you don't have it today, right? This is the book of John, chapter 8. And verse 42, it says, and Yahweh Shai said unto them, if power, right, if God were your father, ye would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God, neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Right? So you got the Israel of power, or the Israel of God, then you got the Israel of the devil. Right? The Israel of God will be saved from their salvation. Will be saved from the day of wrath. Right? Will receive that salvation. Right? But the remnant, or the Israel of the devil, they're going to have to feel the fire. As spoken of in 2nd Ezra 9, they're going to have to know it after death by pain. Right? Now, as far as the surrounding nations, right? As far as the surrounding nations go, not all of the heathens will be destroyed, right? If you in the door of Babylon, you done, right? Because this place gonna get turned into a desert. But not all heathens are gonna face that fire and destruction. But they have a purpose, and they are not on the same level as Israel. And don't get it twisted, right? Let me go to the book of Revelation. All right, so we got Israel out the way we understand. It's a 1/3, it's a 2/3, as spoken of in Zechariah 13, 8 through 9. All right, so 1/3, 2/3 is 144,000 according to Revelation 7 and Revelation 14, right? And that 144,000 is the governing body over the 1/3. Right now, as far as these surrounding nations go, these heathens, right? Let's see. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6. And 6 and verse 14. All right, this is speaking after the destruction. All right, it says, and the heaven departed as a scroll, so that's like a mushroom cloud. And when it says the heaven departed, that means like when you see, have you ever seen like a nuclear explosion or a test of a bomb, and you'll see the clouds above it, it's almost like a hole comes through it because of the bomb. When that fire goes up and then spreads out, it creates a hole in the sky, right? It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, and the kings of the earth, right, here go the elite, right, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, And every bondman and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of wrath, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Right, so they are already preparing for this. The elite have already created doomsday bunkers, and they laid out like mansions, man. And they go so far deep underground, made out of missile silos. Right, they go so far deep underground, man. They already preparing for this, right? Trying to hide from the wrath of the Most High. But Most High said, you're going to have to bring that ass here. Ain't nowhere you can hide, man. Go to the book of Jeremiah. Let's see. Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 16. It says, Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith Yahweh, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. Right? So the same men that the Most High set out into the highways and hedges, right, to bid who he will to the marriage. Once destruction comes and we receive our new bodies, right, the Most High said he gonna send us back down on this earth, and we hunting. Right? How about Shemal Sharat in their number? Right? Of the hunters, not the hunted, right? But ain't nowhere to hide, man. Ain't nowhere to run. Right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 2 says, And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. All right? So, yes, it will be a remnant of the heathens that will be left. But their purpose is going to be to rebuild this kingdom, man, under harsh servitude. Yahweh Shemal Shai tells us that we'll rule them with a rod of iron, man. Hard bondage, man, breaking in pieces. All right? I'm going to go to the book of Amos. Amos chapter 9. And verse 11. Now, this is all written in scripture. Ain't nobody making none of this up. Right? Going straight verse for verse, showing the judgment of Israel and the surrounding nations. Right? Good Israel and bad Israel. Right? And the heathens in general. Right? It says in the book of Amos chapter 9 and verse 11, In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom. Right? The remnant of Edom, meaning whoever is left after the destruction. So, yes, you're going to have heathens that will be destroyed. Of course you will, in the day of the Lord. But you will also have a remnant that will be saved. Right? For what? Let me read this again. That they may possess. Right? They will be saved as possessions. Right? That they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen, which are called by my name, saith Yahweh power, that doeth this. Right? Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him that soweth seed, and the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. All right? Now, when this day comes and this salvation happens, we will finally see peace on this earth. All right? We will finally be able to kick our feet up and righteously chill. And to be real with you, even these heathens that we are going to possess after a while, they're going to love it too. Because the whole earth going to be in peace. All right? Go to the book of Micah. All right? Micah chapter 4 from the top. It says, but in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. So when scripture talk about mountains and hills, those are powers, those are governments, big and small. Right? It says, many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, and to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. Right? And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. All right? Peace on this earth. And the reason why these nations are going to be turning their swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks is because they will be in rebuild mode under strict supervision of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, right, and Yasharallah. That 144,000 that I was speaking about, right? That 1/3 that I was speaking about, right? Verse 4 says, but they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of Yahweh of hosts has spoken it. Straight peace, man. Right? So that's the judgment for everybody, man. Israel and heathen. Righteous Israel, unrighteous Israel. The destroyed of the heathens and the remnant of the heathens. So, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ratazah, these precepts in this video were edifying. Call Haloim Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai B'Hashem Harakal Kodash Shalom Yashalom.